Being successful is about handling stress. Being an entrepreneur is about handling stress. If you can't handle stress in this life, you're not going to be successful. Point blank, period. You've probably heard the saying, entrepreneurship is about solving problems. But what happens when people get problems? They get stressed. They can't solve the problems because they're stressed. If you take on multiple problems, you're going to be stressed. It's a natural physiological response of a human. The way you deal with this response is directly correlated with how many dollars you earn in your bank account and how successful you become. On almost any metric, even when we're not speaking about entrepreneurship, even if you're speaking about family, having a family is stressful, man. Having 3-4 kids running about at 2, 3, 4 years of age is stressful. How you deal with that stress is going to determine what type of relationship you have with your kids and how they grow up in the future. So how you deal with stress is not only going to help you with entrepreneurship, but also with your family life. Even in the gym, you get very stressed in the gym. You get tired, your muscles get stressed, your brain gets stressed if you're sparring, and there's a lot of things you have to take into account. How you deal with that stress directly correlates to how good you do in that athletic endeavor, whether it be fighting, martial arts, or just play bodybuilding. So I'm down on a bit of a rant, right? But the point is that dealing with stress is extremely important as a man. We're going to bring it back to the entrepreneurial side though. The reason I'm successful and why a lot of people I know are not successful is one thing. I can handle stress and they can't. I have a friend who gets stressed about every little thing. He's actually started to break that mindset recently, and I think it's going to serve him very well. But for the most of his life, every time there was anything to get stressed about, he would get stressed over it. There was many times he would do criminal activity and he would get super stressed because he thought he might get found out by the police. Anytime he ran a red light or parked somewhere he wasn't supposed to park, he would worry about getting a fine. If he was doing a visa application and he heard something negative from immigration, he would get extremely upset. He would get extremely stressed about that. If one of his family members became ill, he would get extremely stressed about that situation. Anything slightly negative that happened to him, he would get very stressed about it, and he wasn't good at dealing with that stress. Because everyone gets stressed. Getting stressed is not the issue. It's how you deal with that stress. He wasn't dealing with that stress in a positive way. He would just let the stress overtake him and constantly obsess over it and not really do anything to handle it. Just kind of let it take over him as opposed to him take control of the situation. Now, if I compare that with myself, I handle things extremely differently. I've been through some insane situations in my life and I've always stayed tough. I've never let the stress get the best of me. I cannot think of one time in my entire life that I've let the stress completely take control of me and surrender me useless. I've been super stressed, don't get me wrong. I've gone through things where there's been nights I couldn't sleep, but I still got up the next morning and handled my business accordingly. I've gone through court cases. I remember I had a court case when I was a young lad, and the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service in England, wanted to charge me and send me to youth prison. I was underage, so they wanted to send me to youth prison. I knew they wanted to specifically do this to me because they said it in court, and I had some inside information on the police station, the officers in charge of the case. They recommend the punishment to the judge in the files, in the paperwork, right? That's what they do in every case. They recommend the punishment. The police say, we think that this guy should get 20 hours community service. We think he should go to jail. We think whatever it is, right? And they suggested that I go to youth prison. And I knew about this while the case was ongoing. This stressed me out. This stressed me out heavily. I was only 17 years of age, I think. I was studying for my GCSEs, we call them. But I remained solid. I never broke. Yeah, it hurt me. I didn't feel good about it. But I was able to deal with this stress. This was when I was a young lad. This is probably one of the times in my life where it was the most hard for me to deal with stress. And of course, because I was a young guy. But that just helped me. There's also been times on my entrepreneurial journey where I could have got heavily stressed, and maybe I should have got heavily stressed, but I was able to deal with it very well. I once had an Instagram account and it had 178,000 followers back in 2016. That's probably equivalent to 1.7 million followers in 2023. And it got shut down. It got shut down from copyright. No warning. I think they did give me a few warnings, but they only shut the page down completely once and they never gave it back to me. It's funny because every year I send them like a long email with some bullshit trying to get it back. But it's been shut down for 6 years now. I got shut down in 2017 I made it in about 2015. I had 178K followers by 2016, and it got shut down in 2017. And that was my ticket out of the rat race. Up until that time, I was still doing work here and there. At the time it got shut down, I was actually working on a farm in Australia. I had to work on a farm because it was some visa conditions, but that's another story for another day. But I was working on the farm, so I was still doing these bullshit jobs, right? I wasn't traveling the world like I am doing now. I didn't have all the money like I do now. I wasn't living the life I wanted to, like I am now. So that Instagram account, in my head at the time, whether it was true or not, was my ticket out of the rat race. It was my ticket for the rest of my life to become successful. And that got shut down. It got taken away from me. My whole future was ripped away from me with one email saying that they had shut me down. I took it on the chin like a champ. It didn't faze me in the slightest. I had made money from that Instagram account. I was making consistent money from that Instagram account. I even created a physical clothing line that I was selling from that Instagram account. So everyone around me, all my friends, people, my family, everyone knew that I owned that Instagram account, and that was a massive thing in my life. It was basically what I was doing as a job. Although it didn't give me the revenue to do it full time, it would have soon. That was my ticket out, as I said. Everyone around me, once I told them that I had been shut down, their reaction was, every single person, the reaction was exactly the same. Why are you taking this so cool? Why have you got a straight face right now? Why are you not upset? You know, whatever it is, whatever rendition of the same thing, which was, how can you handle this stress so easily? I don't know, man. I haven't really thought about it. I just know that you have to handle stress as a man if you want to be successful in life. So I do it. Like I also said, when I was a very young lad, I went through lots of things. That one court case was just one thing. I went through lots of things like this that enabled me to deal with stress better. I wasn't good at dealing with stress from a kid. It's not like a natural gift I have. I think I just went through so many stressful situations that eventually I just become numb to it. I just become hard to it. That's why I always say trauma as a man is not a negative thing. Everyone always says, oh, it's my trauma, I'm a victim. You know, my trauma made me do it. I'm this way because of my trauma. But I don't think trauma is a negative thing. Trauma definitely helped me deal with stress better. And these days, no matter what is thrown at me, I can deal with that stress easily. Last year, I was kicked out of my country, New Zealand. Not the country I come from, but the country I lived. I was kicked out of that country. I was deported. It was one stage before deportation. I left. They was going to deport me if I didn't leave, right? I had to leave, basically. I got kicked out. That stressed me out, but I dealt with that shit, man. I dealt with that, and now I'm back in New Zealand. I'm not there right now because I'm traveling like I do all the time, but the point is I was able to deal with that stress, and almost every stressful situation I've had in my entire life, I came out on the other side a stronger man. Now, I say all of that to say this. That's the reason I'm successful. I'm telling you all these experiences I've had in my life because I'm telling you that they made me successful. Dealing with stress is your number one superpower as a man, and specifically as an entrepreneur. If you can't deal with stress, you're gonna be a loser. You ain't gonna be who you wanna be if you can't deal with a little bit of stress, or even a lot of bit of stress. So you better learn how to deal with stress. And that leads me to my next point. How do you deal with stress? Well, I don't want this video to be too long. I've already explained the importance of why handling stress is important as a man, and I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to make another video on my channel. It will be called How to Handle Stress as an Entrepreneur, and make sure you watch it if you want to know how you can handle stress as a man so you're successful as an entrepreneur, or just successful as a man in general. I'll see you in the next video.